Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion, and in this video I'll be walking you through day 6 of the action on the Abu Dhabi T10 League. And so today there were 3 more games, and the games were the Maratha Arabians versus the Qalandars, Pune Devils versus the Delhi Bulls, and the Northern Warriors versus the Deccan Gladiators. And so starting off with the first game, the Arabians versus the Qalandars. So the Arabians batted first and posted a very under par, I would say, 101 for 5, and they were 19 without loss after 2 overs, and they took the floating power play in the third over itself. But however, despite the fact the innings never really got any impetus, and what I'm trying to say is this: so the top scorers were Mohammad Hafiz and Shoaib Malik, and they were 44 of 26 and 23 of 16. And Abdul Shakur, once again, he did struggle a bit to score runs at a fast pace, and he couldn't really find his timing. And so, really, after that first innings where he scored 50 or 14 balls, and I think he got a 60 odd in the end, he really hasn't been able to score, substantial runs with a good strike rate in this format. And so, yeah, that's the thing where really that innings was a brilliant innings, but ever since then he hasn't quite found his timing, and he hasn't really hit the runs that he would have liked. And so Hafiz scored 44 of 26 and Malik scored 23 of 16. Now, T10 is a kind of format where both those rates are acceptable in a T20, and both those batsmen look very comfortable. But in fact, actually, I say 101 for 5, but they lost 3 wickets in the last over. So, they were 87 for 2 in 9 overs. And the thing is that T10 is a kind of format where you can look comfortable and you can score at good, you can look comfortable and you can actually score at very good strike rates. But the problem is they don't always translate into runs. And I say very good strike rates because if someone scores 44 of 26 and 23 of 16, combine that with players scoring at lower strike rates because they haven't been able to find their timing, it doesn't make for that high of a score. And it was 101 for 5. So even though Mohammad Hafiz and Shoaib Malik, they played very well, they couldn't quite give the innings the impetus, and I thought it was because of some very good bowling. So Sohail Tanveer got 3 for 22 in his 2 overs, and he only gave 8 in his first over and came back in the last over. And honestly, I think he was hit for at least one boundary by Mossadegh Hussain at the end. So really, he kept the over in check, I would say, and 3 for 14 in the last over, meaning that they only went, it's 14 runs, but I'm saying 87 to 101 and taking 3 wickets in that. And all in all, 3 for 22 in 2 overs is, especially in T10, it's an excellent return. So, I mean, as far as T10 is concerned, those are very good figures because 3 wickets in this kind of a format is something that, it's very good. And Sohail Tanveer, that's why I thought with the context of the situation, him only giving 8 runs in his first over and 14 runs and 3 wickets in a situation where the score wasn't even that big, even though he gave 14 runs, I thought it was a very good effort. And Ahmed Daniel has been a revelation in this tournament, and he got figures of 1 for 17 in his 2 overs. Then I think his name is Sultan Ahmed, I think. And is the left-arm off spinner, and he got figures of 1 for 20 in 2 overs. He's also been very good this tournament, and even then those figures aren't necessarily bad. So yeah, I thought he had a satisfactory performance. And Chris Jordan has been excellent in this tournament, and he got figures for none for 13 in 2 overs. So you look at 4 bowlers already with excellent figures, and that's why it translated into the fact that the Arabians couldn't get the impetus at really any stage of the innings. And so that's why they ended up with a very underpass score. And the Qalandars, they did lose their fair share of wickets, 6 wickets, because they scored 104 for 6 while chasing the target down. But they only lost their wickets, really more wickets towards the end, and you never thought they were going to lose. So that was the Qalandars. I mean, they did it pretty easily in the end. And the contributors with the bat for them was Sharjeel Khan with 20 of 16 balls. Sohail Akhtar dismissed for the first time for 20 of 11 by an excellent Yorker ball by Sompal Kami. And then there was Ben Dunk, who scored 26 of 12, not out. So, well, a very good performance from the Qalandars. And the bowling figures for the Maratha Arabians, there was someone who bowled the first over. That was Kevin Kottigoda, and I believe he's from Sri Lanka. And he bowls with a very unusual action because I remember Tom Banton's expression after the first ball had been bowled, because when you've not seen someone for the first time and everything looks like it's going to be, a traditional leg spinner's action, and then the ball just, his hand goes like this, and so it goes diagonally. And so at first glance as a viewer, it seemed like it would be harder to pick variations, especially facing him for the first time. And so I can imagine how hard it would be for the batsman, and that's the reason why he only actually gave 5 runs in his over. And Tom Banton got run out in that over because unfortunately in the last 2 balls of his over, Kevin Kottigoda he fell on the floor, and so he did some knee damage. But especially in that 5th ball, he saw there was a run out opportunity, and so he quickly managed to get on his feet and collect the throw and dislodge the bails, running out Tom Banton. But really, then the next ball again, he fell on the floor, and so unfortunately he had to be taken off the field. And I hope that everything's okay with him, because in cricket, I think that these new kinds of actions bring something to the game. And we even see how Malinga, there are a lot of people kind of imitating his action. You see with Ansari, and there's also, I saw someone with a similar action in the Bangla Tigers as well, and I think he played only 1 game. And I also, Matisha, who's the under-19 bowler from Sri Lanka, who also kind of has a similar action. So we've seen how those actions from iconic players can really make other people want to try the same thing. And with this, it's like I feel that with this action, it is very hard to pick the variations, and it takes the batsman by surprise. And as long as, 1, in T10, you have to score quickly, and 2, if someone with this unconventional action comes along, I think that, the bowler can be effective. And yeah, I feel that, okay, the action looks a bit different, but I'm saying that if it seems effective and if it works for him, then it's all good. I'm saying this, that his action kind of seems similar to Shivil Kaushik. Not completely similar, but both of them, the fact is that, so for leg spinner, let's say right arm leg spinner, your arm would kind of go down like this, but for them, it goes diagonally. And so especially Shivil Kaushik kind of gets himself, for both of them, it's a bit abrupt, and then it just goes like this diagonally really fast. And that's the reason why for the batsman it seems very hard to play, because it would be hard to play. And yeah, that's the reason why I hope that he can recover soon and honestly build on what he's got, because it's a new kind of action that would definitely it definitely seems like it's hard to pick variations, as I said. So that was him. Then the next best figures that I saw was Shoaib Malik, 1 for 6 in 1 over. And so, after watching the game, I'll be completely honest, and anyone who watched the game would say this, for a team that really had to win that game, I would say to really, they had to win that game because it was getting out of their control. Was this bowling effort really something that you would say showed that desperation? They just completely lost the plot. And it was an effortless run chase from the Qalandars. And even though they lost more wickets than usual, you never thought they were going to lose the game. And yeah, this game was a pretty one-sided game in the end. And the Arabians are probably out of the tournament. Then in the next game, the Pune Devils versus the Delhi Bulls. And this game was somehow even more one-sided than the first game. And the Pune Devils in the end only managed to score, they batted first and scored 57 for 7 in their 10 overs. And I honestly, this is a team that its bowlers have struggled apart from Mohammad Ahmed, but the batsmen have done really well. Whereas now we've seen that in this game, the batsmen didn't fire. And so the game was lost in the first half, in the first 10 overs, and it's really a bit of it was just really lost in the first 10 overs, I would say. And I'm starting to think of what to say, because especially when you saw how the batsman got out, it really wasn't very. The ball was okay. Ali Khan bowled them on, it was a good length, and even though he bowled on a good length, there was an element of width involved. So getting out, kind of playing these swipes to the keeper, I wouldn't even call them slashes. I mean, they were basically swipes, and being caught behind. And there were other times where they just pulled the ball straight to the field. It really was a very ordinary batting performance, and ordinary is being too nice, because if you look at the scores, I mean, the highest score was by Kenna Lewis, who scored 15 off 7, and Devon Thomas, who scored 15 off 18 not out. And so really what happened is that this wasn't very good. In fact, it was terrible. And the bowlers, you couldn't really blame the bowlers in this one, because getting first to the Delhi Bulls bowlers, I mean, you look at these figures. Fidel Edwards, 1 for 11 in 2 overs. I think it's Ahmed Butt, I think that's his first name. Scored, bowled for 2 for 22 in 2 overs, and he's been very good in this tournament. And Dwayne Bravo, who still, I feel, hasn't really found his radar, to be completely honest. He just bowled to these middle to lower order batsmen, and so his figures were made to look good. But yeah, he didn't really find his radar, but he got some good figures that would definitely increase his confidence going into the real business end of the tournament. So none for 11 in 2 overs. And then there was Ali Khan, who bowled 3 for nothing in 0.5, which is tremendous. And then Tom Abel, he bowled 0 for 3 in 1.1, and I'm not sure who was anyone was injured there, because as I said, this was during when I had online lessons, and so while I did watch the influential parts of the game, there were a few parts that I missed. So I'm not sure if anyone was injured there. But then Shiraz Ahmed, 1 for 7 in 2 overs, has been a revelation in this tournament. And him, along with Waqas Maqsood, who wasn't playing in this game probably because of a hamstring injury he sustained before, but them two for me have been my favourite opening bowling combination in this tournament. They have really been terrific in restricting the batsman's scoring, and they've got wickets. And yeah, this was just a walk in the park, really. Ramanullah Gurbaz, 26 off 14, Evan Lewis, 13 off 7, and Shafane Rutherford continuing to play ridiculous shots off spinners. Hit one over, I think, extra cover again, and then extra cover or cover, and then he swept the next one for 6 and over square leg, and so another not out for him, and they really just completely destroyed the Pune Devils. And the bowling figures of the Pune Devils, so Mohammad Amir, he got 1 wicket, he bowled 1 for 23 in 2 overs, and you think it's a bit expensive, but actually he bowled some good balls, and I think that the batsman just took advantage of his frustration, and you would be frustrated because you are the lead bowler, and already it's hard for your team to win when they post 120 odd and then they post 57, and you're still expected to be the lead bowler. And so that's why his frustration, kind of, you could see it, you could sense his frustration. And so 1 for 23, I mean, he did what he could. The batsman, walked out thinking they were going to get this easily, and they did. And so the bowlers were, when they don't have much to bowl at in a T10 and it's less than a run a ball, I mean, you honestly can't blame the bowlers. And Munus Ansari came back today, and I can understand why, because I can understand why I said I can understand why they left him out, but I can understand why they brought him back in, because there's nothing different to this attack apart from Mohammad Amir. I mean, they have good bowlers, but they have the current UAE captain in their team as well, but the other bowlers don't really seem to be that effective apart from Mohammad Amir. And usually Mohammad Amir has been negotiated pretty well by the opposition. And so Ansari, I thought he did miss his Yorker a few times and bowled some off volleys, but he bowled 1 for 18 in 2 overs, which in the context of the situation isn't that bad. And so I thought it was a good return for him, and you can't blame the bowlers in this situation because it was way too low of a score to defend. And yeah, that was this game somehow even more one-sided than the first one. Then there was a game that I was looking forward to. This was a game I was looking forward to for day 6, because the Northern Warriors versus the Deccan Gladiators, you look at the players in those two sides, and I thought it was going to be a cracker of a game, and in the end it was. And so what happened was this. So the Northern Warriors batted first, and Wasim Mohammed, he scored 26 of 10 balls, continuing his excellent form. Nicholas Pooran, 29 of 16. Rodman Powell, 51 of 23. So those are the real big highlight scores. Fabian Allen scored 22 as well. And Zamir made his debut for the Deccan Gladiators, but unfortunately he had a bit too much on the leg side and he got smashed in his one over that he bowled. He made his debut, and his inexperience would be nervous bowling to all these T20 stalwarts who just... I mean, I can't... I'm not going to really say that he did wrong, because honestly, I mean, yes, he erred on the leg side, but you're inexperienced and you're bowling for the first time in the T10 to these West Indian power hitters, and so yeah, you kind of have to feel sorry for him, and I did feel sorry for him. So he only bowled one over. It wasn't the greatest debut for him, but I hope he can build on this. Then there was Zahoor Khan, who's once again been outstanding. He's a revelation again. I mean, 1 for 13 in 2 overs, and in the end the final score was 143 for 4. So bowling that, and with that being the final score, is outstanding. Then Aaron Summers, he bowled 1 over for 10, and if he was able to, I'm not sure if I watched the game, but I don't think he had an injury. So if he could have bowled another over, then why didn't he bowl? Because there were parts in this game where this is the reason why I really feel like Deccan Gladiators missed out, and I'll get to this, but in that over he was really bowling his short balls well, and the umpire kind of gave no balls and wides, which I didn't agree with, because there was one ball that really went at helmet height. It was an excellent short ball, and even the commentators didn't agree with the calling. And alright, the over only went for 10, which for all that shows how good of an over it actually was. Even despite the extras, it went for 10. But I really think that if he could bowl, he should have bowled another over, because honestly, the batsman really struggled to play him, and he was bowling that good short balls. And if you look at 143 for 4, and you look at, there's 15 extras in that, so it actually would have been 128 for 4 without the extras. And even then, I would say for a large part of that 10 overs, you thought that Deccan Gladiators, if they had picked up a wicket in a situation, they could put the pressure on the Northern Warriors, because they were bowling well, honestly. And that's why I thought towards the end, they just conveniently for the Northern Warriors and Rodman Powell, they missed their lengths and they got smashed. And that's why, they gave 143 for 4 in the end. And I honestly feel that they missed an opportunity in this game, and they missed an opportunity with the ball, as I said, because they should have, if they had just got the wickets, and even if they didn't get the wickets, at least try and keep the runs down, because they did not deserve to concede 143 for 4, honestly. I mean, extras 15, okay, but even then a few no ball calls and wide calls here and there, but it still shouldn't have been that many extras. But I'm saying they really didn't deserve to concede that much, and I feel like they only have themselves to blame. I mean, I know it kind of seems contradictory, but they really were in this game in the bowling innings and in the batting innings, where if you look in the batting, so they lost wickets early. Sunil Narayan has got his 3rd golden duck in a row, and so his tournament has been 1 off 3, 4 off 1 not out off an edge, and 3 golden ducks. And the thing is that you say he's weak to pace bowling and short pitch bowling, but I can't remember what the first golden duck was, but the last 2 have literally been length balls, and he's just tried to get too far leg side of the ball, and it's just straight balls, and it's just straight at the stumps, and I don't know what he's tried to do, and he's got out, and he moves to the leg stump, and I don't know what the whole thing behind that is. It's literally just a straight ball, and rather than just doing this, at least he just does something flimsy and goes like this and all. It's almost like, is he trying to hit it, or is he just wafting at thin air, and then he misses the ball completely and gets out. And that's why honestly, he's good when his batting comes. I mean, he's bowled brilliantly this tournament, I would say. I mean, despite the fact that this game he got, I'd say, I think 1 for 30 in 2 overs, but considering 143 for 4, I mean, sometimes bowlers in this format, bowlers do get put under pressure in this format, so a few more expensive figures here and there, I mean, you're going to have to kind of take it as part of bowling in T10. And so, really, the fact is that his bowling has been very good in this tournament, but his batting he's not featured at all, and he's an experiment that you always think is going to come off, and he does come off at some stage, but he usually doesn't. And so I feel like him batting at the top of the order, I feel like he will be given, a few chances along the way for whoever he plays for, but because they could, just if he gets going, you can see what he can do. But unfortunately, it hasn't really been his tournament. So yeah, that's Sunil Narayan, and so he got out, and also Cameron Delport I think got out as well, and Mohammad Shehzad scored 17 off 11, once again not really kicking on. And I thought that then Azam Khan came in at number 3, and I solely feel that it's because Wahab Riaz had an over left, and that's the reason why they sent Azam Khan in, and he played magnificently with 54 of 22, and he really played magnificently, and he got out after a while, he got out. And then the bowlers, however, I thought for the Northern Warriors bowled excellently, and Wahab Riaz 1 for 15, especially bowling 1 over of a floating power play is outstanding. Junaid Siddiq with 2 for 16 in 2 overs, excellent figures. And Fabian Allen 2 for 8 in 1 over, and he needed that because whenever he was coming in, he was either getting wickets off, very not great balls, or he was being completely obliterated. So I felt that he needed those figures that, even if he bowled 1 over 2 for 8, he kind of needed that for his bowling confidence. His batting has been very good. And so I talked about the bowlers because then Karen Pollard got out at 86 for 5, and he thought, surely this is game done. And Anwar Ali, I mean, we all know he can bat, and he scored 35 of 10, a magnificent 35 of 10 to get them close. And I say close because they lost by 3 runs in the end. And so straight away you see, if they hadn't lost the wickets in the middle, if they had bowled less extras even though they had no balls and wides here and there, if they had just seized their opportunities and really, or at least limited the scoring, bowled Aaron Summers for another over, and the Deccan Gladiators really should have won this game. And straight away looking at their side, I mean, you thought they have a very big case of, I keep on mentioning the players in their side because, I mean, that's the reason why, recent form, I wasn't even thinking about it, because you look at the champion players in the Deccan Gladiators and in the Northern Warriors, and you think, anything can happen on the day. That's why I feel Deccan Gladiators would really be kicking themselves that they somehow managed to lose this game, because really it was there for them to win. And so yeah, that was the 3 games of that day, and of day 6. And so yeah, they not progressively got better, because the first one was one-sided, second one was one of the most one-sided things you'll ever see, and the third one was an excellent game. So now I'm coming back to something that I've seen, the general opinion of the T10. I mean, especially on like the highlights that Sky put. There are people who don't like the format, and I mean, it's kind of like, there are people, look, we all love Test cricket, I think Test cricket is the best format, but I'm saying I love all the other ones simply because each format has its own situations and it stimulates the brain in different ways of thinking, especially, as a captain, as a batsman looking at, hitting at the death overs, as bowlers and bowling variations to limit the batsman's scoring. And it's just this variety of situations and just the smarts behind it that makes cricket such a brilliant sport. And I'm saying there are people who I saw this comment which I agreed with, because someone is busy, trashing the T10, and someone asked, "Are you 108 years old?" Because the person who was trashing the T10 was saying, there's no there's no evenness between the bowlers and batsmen, and a lot of them were kind of saying these players should be playing Test cricket or ODIs. Why are they playing this? And it's kind of, I agreed with the guy saying, "Are you 108 years old?" Because here's the thing: after a while, this whole Test cricket is, look, Test cricket is the highest level of cricket, and I believe that, and that's why I think Test cricket is the best. But I'm saying that kind of really trashing other formats just to say that Test cricket is the highest. I mean, I'm not someone who does that, and it's really artificial after a while. I mean, cricket, you don't just play cricket in one way, you play in many different situations, and in each format there are demands for the captain, for bowlers, for batsmen. I don't understand why an introduction, or well, I mean, it's been around for a while now, but I don't understand why another format which is different from the other ones, in the fact that it's 10 overs and it's mostly batsman dominated. But here's the thing, it's if someone bowls a good ball, it doesn't make it any easier to hit out of the ground. The batsmen still have to give the same respect to a good ball. And so I say the fact that there are 2 or 3 bad balls every over, maybe if there weren't 2 or 3 bad balls every over, you'd see be more harder to score, and it would be an even contest between the bowlers and the batsmen. And we've seen in the UAE, this season, that especially there have been a lot of inexperienced bowlers who've done very well, like as I said, Ahmed Daniel, Zahoor Khan, Waqas Maqsood, Shiraz Ahmed. They've all been excellent. And so this is why I'm just saying I don't get this whole very put on opinion, I would say, that people who don't like the T10, I mean, look, you can all have your own views, but what I'm trying to say is that just like saying and putting dirt on a format just because you're used to something else, it isn't right in my view. And people were saying, well, which players play in this league, who's in the front. Well, here's the thing. If you look at all the people who defined T20 cricket, they're playing in this format. I mean, if you look at, Karen Pollard, Dwayne Bravo, Shahid Afridi, Chris Gale, there's so many players, and it's just, and also players have embraced the T20 format, like Nicholas Pooran, Andre Fletcher. There are so many people, and honestly, the best T20 players in the world are playing in this format, and in this league. So honestly, I don't get where you can say who's playing in this league, because these are the same players who you enjoy watching playing in leagues such as the IPL, the PSL, the CPL, all around the world. And that's why when people say who's playing, when they're all playing together in one league, and people are suddenly saying, well, oh, who's playing in this league in their prime? Well, they are heritage names that we all like watching. So you can say what you want, but the fact is, there are a lot of renowned players playing in this league, and also the local talent. They've been excellent. As I said, look at how much the bowlers have prospered. Abdul Shakur with that innings of a 50, 60 odd, I think. Mohammad Wasim has been fantastic in this tournament, especially replacing Brandon King. And he's been excellent, honestly, Mohammad Wasim. And, that's why I'm trying to say I don't understand why people are saying that, honestly, because these are the same players who you like seeing in other leagues. And there isn't, I understand the Bangladesh versus West Indies series only started today. It's only started today. And so what I'm trying to say is that it doesn't make any sense. Like, I just don't, I'm saying it doesn't make any sense because I'm saying there's no other cricket on. I mean, the Bangladesh West Indies only started today. There's no other cricket on. And so you're busy hating on a format that maybe the Big Bash are there, I'm not sure, but even then, you're busy hating on a format when there's no other cricket on, when all the famous T20 players are playing in that league, and you're honestly, even more than anything, you're not, I mean, I'm saying you're to, the people who think this, you're not open to something new. You're not open to a new kind of format. And, the game, in my view, is open for expansion. And as long as you preserve the original formats, what's wrong in innovating and trying something new? And that's why I feel that this whole notion that new formats would, affect the purity of the game, it just doesn't make sense in my view, as someone who likes, the challenges that every format offers. And I feel that, there is room for experimentation. So that's the reason why, that's my take on people kind of really not having a great, it is their view, I understand that, but after a while, this whole ruining the purity, that's what they're trying to say, that it ruined the purity of the game. It just put on after a while, because honestly, these are the people who, let's say, when the IPO 2020 played in the UAE, so in Sharjah, they would have been really liking the fact that, especially at the start of the tournament, there were all these 200 plus totals scored, and they would have been enjoying it, and they would have liked the fact that bat was dominating ball. So why suddenly, when there's a format where is even more, in favor of the batsman, then if you liked it then, why don't you like it now? So that's why I just think it's this whole criticism is just ridiculous. And that's my take on that. So I said the Bangladesh and West Indies test was today, so you can kind of understand that I am recording day 6 on day 7 because there were some technical issues, so I couldn't really, record on day 6, or I recorded a bit and then that kind of something went wrong with that. So I'm sorry about that, and so this video will be up. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and please share this video with your friends. And remember, this is my opinion. What's yours?